This is Visitor's Book, and I'm Maija, your host. In this program, we're going to be meeting with diplomats and foreigners who live here in Pakistan, and we're going to find out what they really think about the country. So let's go. So our guest today is the Srilankan High Commissioner, Mohan Wijeyeickrama. So let's go meet with him. Hello, Mr. Wijeyeickrama. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you for coming here, and it's a pleasure to be in this program.
Thank you. So, how long have you been in Pakistan now?
As said today, I think it's about 2.5 months.
Okay, so you basically arrived here in Islamabad in the middle of a pandemic. How much of the city or the country have you managed to see so far?
Yeah, in fact, when I came here, it was almost locked down. I mean, I didn't see any vehicles or passengers on the road.
Oh, wow.
The time I came, but I've been moving around to Islamabad, Rawalpindi, doing my marketing and, getting a little bit the taste of Islamabad since coming here.
Okay. And I mean, so you have managed to take some meetings also. You haven't been completely confined to the embassy.
No, our embassy has been working. I mean, we work about 3 days a week and 2 days from home. During the pandemic time, I think we are now going to work every day from next week. And we have been having a couple of meetings, a lot of webinars and meeting people.
Yeah.
So have been active a bit.
Okay.
But have not been traveling out of Islamabad yet.
And I mean, that must have been quite a surprise to see such a quiet city, because South Asian cities are not exactly known for being like that, right?
Traffic here is, I think, very much better than what we see over there in my country. And of course, I can see the traffic building up a little now with the opening up.
So was this your first visit to Pakistan ever?
In fact, correct. This is my first visit to Pakistan.
So what kind of an impression of the country did you have prior to coming here?
Now, coming from a country from the subcontinent, I expected it to be something similar to us.
Right.
And except for the weather.
Yeah.
It's different, and the timing, the sunrise and set is different.
Oh, really?
But people and the friendliness, the general beauty, what we see all around here is the same. So I was not much surprised, but actually I'm amazed by the planning of this city. Islamabad has been a very nicely planned city.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of greens. I have gone to all the parks in Islamabad now.
Oh, wow.
And it's a nice city to be.
Yeah. So you were mainly surprised by Islamabad then?
Yeah, I have not been to other cities yet. So only thing I drove from Lahore to Islamabad. When I arrived, I came to Lahore.
Oh, because there are direct flights between Lahore and Colombo, is that right?
There are Sri Lankan airlines fly from Lahore and Karachi to Colombo. There's a direct flight.
Okay.
And of course, that time there were no passenger flights. The time I came, it was a cargo flight. Was converted to carry me and few other passengers. And the Pakistani authorities are very nice to provide that facility to me, because if not, I wouldn't be able to come for another couple of months. But I was appointed from 1st of January and landed here on the 1st of June.
Okay, wow,
6
that's
months
quite a long time. Yeah. So what do Sri Lankans usually think about Pakistan? What is the first thing that comes to their mind?
I mean, Sri Lanka, there's no special thing but Sri Lanka think about Pakistan. I mean, Pakistan is a friend of Sri Lanka right along. And it's one community, because we have been seeing Pakistan is mostly in the cricket field.
Right,
because of the distance of two countries. But Pakistan has been a friend right along, and so they always think good about Pakistan, because Pakistan has been always had come to our assistance when in need.
Yeah.
And therefore Sri Lanka always had a very good place for Pakistan in Sri Lanka.
So where are you personally from in Sri Lanka?
I had been born and bred. I did my studies all in Colombo.
Okay,
so I've been confined to Colombo.
Yeah. How different would you say Colombo is as a city when compared with Islamabad?
Colombo, of course, got a facelift after the conflict was over in Sri Lanka in 2009. in 2016, it was judged as the fastest developing city in the world.
Oh, really? Wow.
And so there are a lot of high rises, and it's a more commercialized city. You get more hotels and more shops, malls and all. But Islamabad is big compared to Colombo.
Really?
It's huge, and therefore it's all spread all over. So if you confine Islamabad to the size of Colombo, maybe that you might have the same contours in Islamabad. But I would think both cities compared to each other in different ways. They have their unique niceties.
Yeah, and you have the beach in Colombo, right?
Of course, Islamabad doesn't have a beach.
Yeah, we have the mountains here.
Yes.
How big is Colombo, like in terms of population?
Colombo population roughly, but our total population in Sri Lanka is about 1/10 the Pakistan population. We are about 22 million, and the bulk of it lives in the cities.
Right.
And I would say Colombo must be having about 1 million.
Okay, all right. So it is somewhat similar, I guess, in terms of population than to Islamabad. Although Islamabad is a very
maybe
small.
little more than 1 million. I would say 1.5 million.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. So what about your family? What was their reaction when you told them you are now going to be posted to Islamabad?
No, I've been a naval officer, so half my life I've been away from the family.
Right.
34 years I was in the Navy. And then I was also the governor in the north and east. That means in the other extreme, other side of Colombo.
Yeah.
So, we have been always away, and they come and stay with me, and, the children used to do education in Colombo.
Okay.
So, it was not a big deal for them, me leaving Colombo and coming to Pakistan. But they never expected that I'll be appointed as a High Commissioner.
Right.
They thought that I'll end up somewhere else.
Because this is your first posting.
This is the first diplomatic posting for me. I'm not a career diplomat.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have been a naval officer. My career has been in the Navy for 34 years.
How did you end up in the Navy? Like, what inspired you to go towards that kind of a career in the beginning?
I joined the Navy when I was 18 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then maybe at that time it was the job. And later on, it inspired me. I picked it up as the career because a lot of people drop halfway. And to go up to 34 years to end up as Chief of Staff, a lot of doing is necessary. And so I ended up liking the Navy. I like to be at sea. So that was how it all went on.
Was your family also in the Navy, or this was just your personal kind of aspiration to join the Navy?
In the sense, my father, mother, are you referring to them?
Yes,
right.
yes.
I had an uncle in the Navy.
Okay.
He was one of the pioneers of the Navy when the Navy was formed in Our Navy was formed in 1950.
Okay.
After independence. So he was in the first group of officers. Probably that would have inspired me also to join the Navy.
Yeah. And then when was it that you left the Navy and moved towards politics more?
I retired in the year 2005, November.
All right.
And then I was appointed by the president at that time in January 2006. So I didn't have much of a break from the retirement to taking up the next appointment. Because 2005 the government also changed and we had a new president in November. So his first appointment, one of the first appointments he made out of his cabinet and ministers was the governors, and I was one of them.
Okay, and what was the region where you were?
I went to the most difficult region in the country.
Really?
It's called the North and East. That's where the conflict had been there for 30 years. When I went as the governor, the two provinces were merged together. It was called the Northern and Eastern provinces, and it didn't have a provincial council then because due to the terrorist situation, the two provinces had not had elections for about 18 years.
I see, yeah.
So the entire rule of the two provinces was under the governor. And the governor was exercising the president's executive powers in managing things. So it was quite a daunting start.
And how did you see the situation change there from like quite a difficult conflict situation to a more peaceful situation?
the time I went, I think, Eastern province, if you take, is one of these unique provinces in the country where all three major communities live close to equal proportions. Yeah. That's the only province we have all the three, the Tamils, the Muslims and the Sinhalese live to close to equal proportions. And none of them had any idea of what's going to happen tomorrow. Bombs were going all over, there was kidnappings, extortions, there were people with this, they call the pistol squads. So the country in that area was not governed for almost 20 years. And so after the change, our main task was to demine the area. Right. That area was heavily mined both by the forces as well as the terrorists. And the second thing was there were a large number of people who were displaced in those areas. Of course. They had to be, brought back, and they had to be provided housing and settled. Then, of course, the development has to take place because 20 years there was no development. The areas what I'm talking had not even seen electricity. Right. There had been no electricity ever. So all those areas were provided electricity, the fresh water, the roads, the schools, the hospitals. And the government also, after the conflict was over, they wanted to get the people onto their side, and they spent a lot of money in developing the two provinces, the north and east. And the amount of money spent on north and east was equivalent to money spent on all the other provinces during the 4 years of that government. Right. So I saw that there was a quite transformation, and everybody accepts that the north and east has been one of the provinces which had seen development as never before. So then, as you mentioned, then you got appointed as the High Commissioner. Did you have any say in where you would get appointed, or they just said like, okay, you'll go to Pakistan now? No, after the new president was elected in November last year, I had been working with him in an organization called the Vietmaga. It's an organization of professionals, the entrepreneurs, the businessmen who guided his victory. We were the people who made the policies for his next government. All right. So we had the group of about, I would say about 150 working as a close-knit group, like a think tank. Okay. And then we had another about 5,000, 6,000 members in it. And but the present president at that time was also retired like me. We wanted to make the required policies for each sector. Generally what happens is when a president gets appointment and the parliament gets appointments, that's the time most of the governments start making policies. But here this particular government has already done it for 5 years. So we have what we are going to do for education, the health, agriculture, infrastructures, everything is done by this group. So after our task was over, he asked me, what are you going to do? So I told him, as you wish, Your Excellency. And he said, okay, you go to Pakistan. And just took it up, that's it. What was your reaction? Were you like, okay, that's interesting? Or how did you react? When the president of the country tells you that you have been picked to go to Pakistan, I don't think you have to comment on that. You say thank you. Yeah. But now you're happy that you're here. Absolutely. I'm really happy. I'm really enjoying it. Great. All right, time to take a short break. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. I'm here in conversation with the Sri Lankan High Commissioner, Mr. Wijeyeickrama. So, if we talk about the relations between Pakistan and Sri Lanka, what would you like to focus on as the High Commissioner now? No, it's a unique relationship. Our relationship started the period where we both countries attained independence. Yes. It was in 1948 when our first Prime Minister, our founding father of Sri Lanka, or that time Ceylon, traveled all the way to Pakistan to meet the Pakistan father of the nation, Mohammed Jinnah. Right. And from there onwards, all the subsequent governments have maintained a very high status of our relations. We are enjoying the best of political, social relations. our defense relationship has been at the highest level. Pakistan has been always coming forward to train our people when necessary, and also give us some assistance when we were really required the final push of during the fight with the terrorists. Of course, as two countries in the SAARC, we also have got involved in trade relations. We signed a free trade agreement in 2005 with Pakistan. It was the first for Pakistan, and with that, about 4,000 items can be traded without tariff between the two countries. But the only thing I have to say is that we can develop it much further, because I don't think the leaders who signed this agreement at that time did not want to have it at this level, because they would have expected it to go to much higher levels.
Okay, I see.
So we can see that there's a lot of potential of trade and even people-to-people contact. Although we have been very close to each other, we have not had many Pakistan outbound tourists coming to Colombo. Sri Lanka is a tourist destination, and Pakistan too has important areas for Sri Lankan tourists. So these are areas, I think, as the High Commissioner, which I will concentrate to get more trade. For instance, if you take in 1970s and the early 80s, 75% of the Pakistanis drank Sri Lankan tea.
Okay, interesting.
Right, because it was they were the main. 75% of the imports of tea was from Colombo, from Sri Lanka, but now it has come to about 1% of that Pakistan tea.
Oh, really?
What Pakistan is doing. There are many reasons for it.
Yeah.
But we want to see that we'll revive the Sri Lankan tea industry. And there are a lot of other things which can be exchanged or traded between the two countries.
What are, aside from tea, what are the main imports and exports right now between the two countries?
Our main imports have been cement, pharmaceuticals, cotton from Pakistan.
Yeah.
And over to Pakistan, it had been mostly the betel leaves, the tea. Then we have the noritake, the porcelains, and then some spices.
Okay.
But we have quite a bit of a trade imbalance. There are more imports from Pakistan than exports from Sri Lanka.
Oh, is it?
So that's something which we will have to see, that we will have to have some even ground on trade.
Yeah.
That certainly will have to be discussed between the two governments of two friendly nations.
Absolutely. And what do you think is the priority for Sri Lanka in terms of Pakistan right now and the relations?
Pakistan has been an important player in the regional stability, and they also have been involved in global level scale, whether it is politics, whether it is trade, whether it is friendship. Pakistan has been a very important player for Sri Lanka. So our relations are quite good. There is nothing to look at enhancing it to levels which unimaginable levels. It's picking up, and by the time both countries share what we are doing at the moment to higher levels, I'm sure that we'll be much better.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting how you mentioned tourism. Do you expect to see more Sri Lankans coming here, for example, to enjoy the mountains in Pakistan once the coronavirus is over, of course?
Yeah, why not? If we can get a flight from Colombo to Islamabad direct, certainly when the flights take Pakistan tourists to Colombo, the same flight can return with Sri Lankan tourists to the northern region of Pakistan. There's a lot of places of interest, the mountains, the Buddhist sites.
Exactly.
And it's a beautiful country to come and see. So it both ways, the tourism must take place.
Yeah.
And that we have had few discussions with the two operators in Pakistan and in Colombo. And after the coronavirus is somewhat controlled and the airports are open, we think of giving some push to see that Pakistanis and Sri Lankans start traveling to each country much more than what it is now.
Yeah. And another area where Pakistan and Sri Lanka have been cooperating in is higher education. What kind of programs and scholarships are there at the moment?
To my knowledge, for the last so many years, there have been this Pakistan Technical Assistance Scheme. Under that, there have been many scholarships being offered to Sri Lankans. But from 2019, Allama Iqbal Scholarship Program has offered 1,000 scholarships over a period of 25 years. That means roughly about 200 scholarships per year.
Oh, wow.
And because of this COVID and in not having sufficient time in 2019 and 2020, it has nearly not been taken to the expected levels. But I hope 2021 onwards that we will be able to send at least 200 of the students to Pakistan universities.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that there were so many Sri Lankans studying and living here in Pakistan.
At the moment, we have about 200 of the students studying here.
What are the fields that they are most interested in coming to study here?
They are most interested in medical, and that is a problem because Pakistan universities cannot offer that many opportunities for Sri Lankans. But other areas also that they are quite keen. So we will have to see by the application what we have received for this year, what type of scholarships and curriculum that they would like to follow.
And what about the other way around? Are there any Pakistanis studying in Sri Lanka?
Not at the moment to my knowledge, but with this new government, Sri Lanka has started looking at making it a knowledge economy. I mean, everybody who qualifies at the high school level to go to university, the government is adamant that they will make that amount of openings for them to go into universities or to training schools or to the vocational training institutes, because they think that our country, when you take in the subcontinent, has the highest level of literacy.
Yes.
And to make them graduate so that we can, make use of them for economy. Therefore, there will be more universities coming up, more training colleges, and I know that there are going to be many IT, centers, which will be coming up in each and every village with distant learning facilities.
Okay.
The country is going for 5G, so that you are connected and they can learn on their own. So if we expand it, certainly that it will be offered to Pakistan on a reciprocal basis, but we must be better than Pakistan for Pakistan students to come. So as it is, we don't have Pakistan students coming to Sri Lanka, but maybe hopefully during the next few years we should be able to attract some.
Okay, and that's quite interesting what you mentioned about Sri Lanka having the highest literacy rate in South Asia. How do you think the country managed to do that?
Because we have been enjoying free education and free health services right along from our independence, almost from 1950s.
Yeah.
And education is compulsory in Sri Lanka. A child has to go to school till the standard. And now the present government is going to make it mandatory to high school.
Okay.
So that everybody has to have that education in Sri Lanka. You can't go and work without education.
That's very important.
So that's how we have been managing. And health is also free in Sri Lanka at all levels. Everybody.
Wow. And another, you already mentioned the Buddhist sites here in Pakistan that might be of interest to Sri Lankans coming here. There are many places such as in Swat, in here quite close to Islamabad in Taxila, in many other places, especially in northern Pakistan, where you can find these ancient or old 1,000-year-old Buddhist ruins. Is the Sri Lankan High Commission doing anything about these sites?
No, I have not got opportunity of going there as yet, but I know the previous High Commissioners have been connected with the authorities over there, because Gandhara civilization is 3,000 years old, and there are a lot of interesting Buddhist places in Gandhara, Takshila area, not only for Sri Lankans, I think all Buddhists all over. And the Takshila Museum is one place where you have the relics of Lord Buddha. And frequently that is been sent by Pakistan as a gesture of goodwill to display it in Sri Lanka during the Vesak period. And last was in 2018, I think, that it was brought to Colombo so that to be venerated by the public, and it came back to Takshila. So we also, as the High Commission, we don't have a program as such, but certainly we have been discussing whether we could digitalize the heritage they have here, so that one day it will be available for anybody, even after 1,000 years. That what it was, because all these things will decay over a period, get destroyed due to development.
Of course.
So that is an area we are looking at, but it requires a lot of funding, and maybe that we'll have to work with UNESCO or some other organization to get some funding, and with the approval, of course, with the Pakistan government.
Of course.
That we may have to initiate digitalizing all the Buddhist heritage which is in those areas.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful idea. Have you seen any pilgrims coming to Pakistan, like Buddhist pilgrims visiting these sites, or is it more of a kind of a non-religious experience visiting such sites?
There have been not as large numbers as pilgrims go to Buddha Gaya in India. I mean, Sri Lankans go in large numbers. That is because both these areas have not been advertised by each country.
Right.
Now I came to know about Takshila and Gandhara after I came here.
Oh, is it?
Right. It is not really advertised in Sri Lanka. And Pakistanese doesn't know much about Sri Lanka. Right. When we start discussing with the two operators, I noticed that they themselves do not know what's really available there. So now this is something which we'll have to develop.
Yeah.
I mean, there should be programs run from both countries to showcase what each country has.
Absolutely.
That's the only way of getting these people to move, by the way.
So to return a little bit to the education cooperation between the two countries, Pakistan has been providing training to Sri Lankan government officials. In what type of areas has this happened, and how often?
One of the most striking things is our president has been trained in your country.
Is it?
As a young army officer.
Oh, wow.
Right. So that is, I mean, he has been here as a young officer.
I didn't
who is
know
trained
that.
in Pakistan Army. So similarly, most of our senior army officers, especially not the Navy, but now of course the Navy as well, are trained in Pakistan. And I think even our doctors, engineers, maybe many other sectors have been trained. I will not be able to give the numbers because I have not really got the numbers as yet.
Yeah.
But there have been large numbers over the period from independence coming here and trained.
Interesting. And when was it that your president was here for the training?
He would have come here somewhere around in 74, 75.
Oh, that long ago. Okay, very interesting. And that was like a common practice, like a military cooperation at the time?
Yes, I mean, most of the time the basic training of certain batches of the army came to Pakistan. And he did not come here for the basic training, he came for a slightly higher level course.
Okay.
Maybe a company commander's course. And it's quite known by the Pakistan authorities that the president of Sri Lanka has been an army officer trained in Pakistan.
Interesting. And what kind of experiences did he have from here? Has he ever talked about his time in Pakistan?
He has been telling me about Islamabad.
Yeah.
And how we went from here to Lahore those days.
Okay.
And he said it's quite different because he has come here as the Secretary of Defense. He was the Secretary of Defense in the year 2006 to 2015. So that time he would have visited many times to Pakistan because we had very close defense ties. And I mean, a person who is trained in Pakistan will never say bad about Pakistan. So he has been always having a very good word about Pakistan.
And is this training still ongoing, or has it been put on hold?
Training is ongoing. It's an ongoing thing. Even under COVID, I think about a week back, we had 3 senior officers coming to Islamabad to follow the National Defense College course.
Oh, okay.
So it's ongoing.
Yeah. All right, time to take a short break. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. I'm here in conversation with the Sri Lankan High Commissioner, Mr. Wijeyeickrama. So let's talk a little bit more about coronavirus and how it has impacted these two countries. Sri Lanka has had very few cases and very few deaths. What do you think the main reason for that has been?
No, in fact, our first detection was somewhere on the 27th of January when a tourist returning from the airport was found to be contaminated. She was retained, treated and sent to a country. And then since March, we did not have any cases in Sri Lanka. But during that particular period, the government established a task force for coronavirus, headed by the president himself. And we knew that if it spreads in our country, we will really face a large problem because our health, although is free, we were not geared for corona. We had only about 500 ICU beds and ventilators were short supplied. So the only option the country had was to see that we do a lockdown, and we had a 52 days lockdown.
Oh wow.
And when you say lockdown, it was proper lockdown where no one was
like curfew almost, yeah.
It was a curfew, except for the people who were doing agriculture in their fields and the people who were going out to fish. All other sectors, other than the essential services, did not. Other than the essential services, everybody had to stay at home.
Yeah.
And government made arrangements for food to be delivered almost close to their habitats. And we had contact tracing. Our main problem was the returning Sri Lankans who had lost their jobs in some of these Middle East and Gulf countries. They came with corona. So they started spreading it, and that's why the lockdown was required. But after that, we established about 70 quarantine centers. So anybody returning has to mandatorily go there. And we had very strong, close SOPs. Everybody has to wear a mask there. And social distancing is required, and sanitization. So we don't have corona in the society anymore.
Okay.
We had only 11 deaths.
Yeah.
And about 2,800 odd cases, but most of it has been the returning Sri Lankans.
Right.
So as it is, we have controlled it. We had elections about 1 week back.
Okay.
And corona did not disturb the elections. I mean, there was 75% of voter attendance.
Very impressive.
But I must also compliment that Pakistan also, in its own way, has done very well.
Yes.
I mean, they had a different style than ours. And I mean, when you look at how they have controlled, it's also amazing.
Yes, it
And the
is.
secret, no one knows. But
Exactly.
they have really controlled it. And hopefully that they also will manage it and take it out of the society.
And I mean, if you look at, for example, India, where the cases are still going up, what do you think the reason is? Like, because people like to compare countries that they think are similar in terms of society, culture, and climate, maybe. So it's quite surprising that, you have Sri Lanka and Pakistan managing to control it, but in India it just keeps going up. What do you think?
That's something which I also have been wondering. I don't have an answer to that, but I have seen that, their numbers are quite large compared to the rest of the countries in the region. I don't know why.
Yeah, so maybe we've just been lucky here and in Sri Lanka as well. But another thing I wanted to ask you about was the healthcare system, which you already mentioned that it's free, but maybe it wasn't that well equipped. But do you think this played a role also in Sri Lanka? I mean, you did have some hospitalizations there as well.
We had one hospital for corona initially.
Yeah.
Then we made 7 hospitals, converted 7 hospitals to treat the patients in a very short time. Within about 2-3 months, we got all the ICU and we got the fundings also from World Health Organizations and some friendly countries. So the ventilators, the ICU beds, all those things are found. So we have 7 hospitals, and I think that is enough now because our numbers are much lower.
Okay. And we already mentioned that tourism, of course, is a big part of Sri Lanka's economy. How much was that, the economy in general, impacted by coronavirus in Sri Lanka?
When Corona hit us, we had about 2 million tourists coming to Sri Lanka. And the target was during the course of 5 years to go up to 7 million, with a $10 billion revenue. But it has got completely impacted. The last few months, all the hotels are closed, and 500,000 people directly and indirectly working in the hospitality sector are out of work. So that is an area which the country has to somehow look positively. But the domestic tourism has started now because in the country we have started our schools, the universities, the public transports, the railway, everything works now. With, of course, SOPs. Earlier the buses were crowded, but now only for seating. No one can get in and stand and go. And even the trains, you have every other seat is occupied by a passenger. But so therefore, domestic tourism has started, but we are looking for getting the foreigners in.
When do you think that will start? When do you think you will start allowing people from other countries in again?
If you allow, even I'm a bit pessimistic whether it will really, catch on the way it used to be. Because if you open your hotels and the airports, still people will take a little bit of time to travel from abroad. You can't bring them by force, they have to come on their own. So they must satisfy themselves that the country is safe. And of course, again, the world has changed. I think one of the 2 areas which are worst hit by corona is tourist industry and the airline industry. It will take a while for them to pick up.
But hopefully one day soon it will be back to normal. And right now the situation is that nobody can come to Sri Lanka from abroad, or
except for the Sri Lankans who have been brought in by airlines.
Exactly.
And maybe the odd urgent case, we can make a case now. We have been sending some Sri Lankans from here, Islamabad, Karachi and Lahore as well. We had 2 flights of Sri Lankan Airlines coming and picking them up. But as it is, tourists cannot go to Sri Lanka.
And you mentioned that flights might open in September, though. Will that be only for certain countries or from all over the world?
I am unable to tell you that because I don't have much idea as to how the tourist board and the government of Sri Lanka is going to open up our hotels and the airports. But I reckon it will be that they'll make sure that the person who travels to Sri Lanka is coming with some, clearance saying that they are not COVID.
So
and if they do come and they'll be tested, and if they're, proven negative, then probably they will be not treated. If not, they'll be treated and then released to continue their tour. I think there may be a lot of things which have been discussed at Colombo, which I'm not privy to.
How important is tourism for Sri Lanka? How dependent is the country on it?
Our main foreign exchange earners have been, one is tourism, then the remittances from our expat workers, tea, then governments. All those have been, to a certain extent, impacted by corona. But now I saw that our exports have picked up. There was a drastic reduction. Now again, it has picked up during the last month. And tourism, of course, has not had any gains. So we'll have to wait and see.
And I mean, supposing the situation improves at one point and maybe Pakistanis can be able to go to Sri Lanka again soon, what would you say, what would you recommend that Pakistanis go and see or visit in Sri Lanka?
No, I know that Pakistanis love the beach.
Yeah.
And so that's something what we can offer right around the country in all seasons. And the northern and the eastern is during a particular couple of months, and then the southern part and the western part is during one season. Mm-hmm. So that's how the tourists share the country during those two seasons, because the seas are calmer during a particular period due to the northeast monsoon and southeast monsoon. So one is hotels. Then there are many places where they can go and see. We have beautiful wildlife sanctuaries.
Right. Yeah.
Then we have 2,500 of heritage, the ruins. We have one time the largest, I would say, the university, right? We had the largest, tallest building in Sri Lanka. Okay. It's called Mohan Wijeyeickrama, right? So we have some unique pieces of interest for the tourist, but at the same time, we also will have to look at this is something what really Pakistanis look for. We have not had many Pakistanis coming, so we had some discussions and we know exactly what they want. Yeah. So the tour groups over there will cater for that. And I'm there to encourage more Pakistanis who are going to some of the other countries, some of them to go to Colombo and Sri Lanka. And
like Sri Lanka, Pakistan has also opened up for local tourists now. Are you planning on starting to travel soon yourself?
Certainly, yes. By about the next month, when the weather improves, I will be going to Lahore. I will be going to the Peshawar area and go even towards the areas where you have this interesting places. I don't know whether we can go to Swat Valley, but whatever which is okay, which we can try, go and see and come without much of a problem. And certainly I will go.
So these will be like official visits then, mostly?
Official plus private, both.
Yeah. Yes. Do you have a place that you're hoping to see in Pakistan, somewhere that you absolutely want to get to visit before you leave Pakistan one day?
The whole of Pakistan.
All of it? Okay, that's great. Another thing, like you mentioned, that these two countries have in common is their love for cricket. And the Sri Lankan cricket team visited Pakistan now in 2019 in December, just about 7-8 months ago. So how important, do you believe in sports diplomacy? Do you think that is important?
Yes, very much.
How important do you think this visit was for other countries to show that Pakistan is now a relatively more safe country to visit?
It was really important. I think that gave a clear signal to all others that Pakistan is safe for cricket. But we all must remember a lot of things we have forgotten, that Pakistanis came to Sri Lanka at a time where we were playing the World Cup. World Cup was held in India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, and that's the year Sri Lanka won the World Cup also. And some of the countries did not want to come to Sri Lanka and play cricket. They are saying that we had at that time this terrorism.
Exactly, yeah.
And then Pakistan came and played some friendly games to give the signal to other countries that Sri Lanka was safe.
Right.
So this is a matter of reciprocation that Sri Lanka also showed that they will come and show the world that Pakistan is safe for cricket.
That's very important, yeah. Do you think there will be more visits in the future?
Yeah, it all depends on the cricket calendar. I mean, if there are matches and if you're invited, we'll certainly come.
Okay, then it's time for our rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Shalwar kameez or suit?
Suit.
Okay. Lahore or Karachi?
Lahore.
Mangoes or jackfruit?
Mangoes.
Okay. Sri Lankan or Pakistani breakfast?
Pakistan breakfast.
Oh yeah? Okay. You like parathas? All right. Colombo or Islamabad?
Of course, Colombo.
Yeah. It's your home, so that's fair enough. Cricket or football?
Cricket.
Coffee or chai?
Chai, tea.
Yeah? Isn't coffee more popular in Sri Lanka?
It's tea.
Okay.
You are the largest producer of tea and export of tea.
That's true. Kumar Sangakkara or Lasit Malinga?
Sangakkara.
Okay. The first thought that comes to your mind when I say Pakistani people?
Friendly people.
Biryani?
It's delicious.
Yeah? Taxila?
Not been to.
The best thing about Pakistan?
Friendly people.
Great. All right, then it is time for you to sign our visitor's book.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see what you wrote. It has been wonderful to be in Islamabad, a beautiful city with lots of green and abundance of friendly people. That's great. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I hope you get to travel a bit more in Pakistan in your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming here and carrying out this interview. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. That's it for today. Please join me again next week, and don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts at indus.news. Stay home, stay safe. Goodbye.